How do time and power intersect in AI? AI-powered education is next. Hi, Casey and I are here to discuss AI-powered education, but today we're not going to talk about power in like powered. We're going to talk about the power that educators have that sometimes we don't think we have. And we're going to kind of focus it in on time, how we get ourselves in trouble a little bit, and how we expect learners to do things quickly, and maybe that could cause problems, and especially in the AI world, and that we are really the solution. So we're going to talk a little bit about Finland for a moment as well. So we're going to do that all in less than 10 minutes. So Casey, why don't you go ahead and start us out and talk a little bit about, time.
Yeah, Sandra and I were just having a conversation about how crucial time is in learners' understanding, right? Like whether you're an ELL student, a student with an IEP that says processing time is of the utmost concern, or you're an educator who is pressed for time because, you're teaching 6 different courses in a day and you have one prep hour, and time is always at the top of the list when it comes to having conversations about education. And so we're having this conversation because we're talking about AI being our time saver, and how AI can maybe step up and take a hold of some of those logistical tasks and some of that minutia and all of that stuff. But we also are acknowledging that yes, AI works really fast, but that does not mean that humans need to work really fast. So, as educators, we don't need to ask our students to produce something like that, right? Even though AI can do that. And I think our students maybe have this idea in mind now that they've had time to play with AI and they've used, generative AI tools in the classroom and outside of it, that they have to be able to produce something really fast, right? And so maybe it's a teacher saying, you know what, I'm really sick of reading your AI generated work. I'm going to make you do this assignment in 30 minutes, and then we're really going to know what you know. It's like, but what are we losing here in terms of depth of understanding and knowledge? Sometimes we need to think about things. And I know I've said this here before, is that I take a long time to process things. I like to really think, and it's self-awareness for me or whatever, but I get kind of caught up in that. And that's where I like to come to AI to say, like, okay, stop my brain and help me find the solution. But
Our learners are no different. And
oh,
if we force them into this super fast zone where they are uncomfortable, they are going to go to every possible answer they can. And AI is the current place to jump to. So the solution, again, really lies in us as the professional. It is still up to us. Like, how are we designing those
mhm.
assessments? Or how are we asking for these things? And are we providing the kind of time that all learners need? And especially if they're newcomer learners or first generational or whatever, like we all need time to figure things out. And if we don't have time, we start searching, and that kind of threads a bit to this next part that again talks about us having the power. And that is that when we don't feel like we have not only time but information, educators tend to jump and look for places that can fill that educational gap or that learning gap. And a lot of times we turn to companies or corporations that create something for us because we don't have time. We don't have time to learn it. We don't have time to practice it. We need people. We believe somehow we've bought into that.
Well, and I also, just to like kind of say, most of us know, and in education, that if we don't have the knowledge, we seek the knowledge, right?
Yeah.
And it is our job as teachers to find the source, to find the place where that information can then be disseminated and shared with our students or whatever. So if it's us that's using it, right? You said we go to, here's a company that's invested time and money themselves into it. So I think that we should buy into it. I think this is a tool that we need to subscribe and save and, all of those things. But ultimately, what ends up happening, Sandra? What are we doing to ourselves as educators?
And we give it to the power to the corporation, the capitalist, the one that may not have the learner's most core bottom line in mind. They have their profit in mind. And then we lose control, we lose power, we're frustrated. And there are models like in Finland where it is required that AI tools are produced by educators. AI
Mhm.
tools first have to have workers, not corporations. So it's much different spin. And I love the fact, like, where did we start giving it all away? Right.
Mhm.
And again, we have the power to craft time for ourselves and our learners. We have, the power to say, wait, we are the ones in the loop, right?
Mhm. Yeah, we're the humans here who get to make these decisions, and we don't have to say, okay, I'm gonna use. We're not gonna call out certain AI tools and platforms that are making boatloads of money on teachers right now, but we will say like some of these programs are now telling teachers what to teach and how to teach it, and while sometimes that's what we might need in certain circumstances, it is now having that adverse effect that so many people complain about seeing in our students' work.
Yeah. Oh,
Where's the authenticity? Where's the individuality? Where do we see a teacher who gets to show students why they love their subject, why they love, this work? And so I think this conversation comes back to teachers making time for themselves to really connect with why they love what they do. I was joking the other day. There's 3 reasons why teachers continue to teach. It's June, July, and August. And it's funny because I like to just poke fun at that when people are like, oh, what are you doing with your summer? Like, oh, it must be nice. No, those 9 months that I'm with your children, that's why
yeah. Well, and
I,
this is a perfect time for this conversation because
right.
we have a little bit of a breathing break right now, and we can take back some time in our lives and say, how are we structuring the activities for our learners? What kind of
Mhm.
time are we giving them? Is it structured? And especially when it comes to the concern for AI, we have the power, take it back,
Mhm.
think about the time, think about what you can do to construct. It is our job to make sure that the learner is at the heart as well.
Right. And don't fall back on the desire for testing immediate understanding and knowledge, because there's no room for a student or for yourself to really show depth. And I think that that's where we're at in education is it's not fast facts. Those are important, absolutely, but we really need to make sure our students have the core understanding to be successful when they're not with us, and not to fall back on these tools that replace their really great critical thinking skills. So let's not set kids up for failure. Let's not set ourselves up for failure in these situations, and instead, let's own our time.
Yeah. Let's own and our power. That is our time too, right? So, all right. Thanks, Casey.
Thank you.